Eyes on me. Eyes over here. Our clear learning objective is I can explain that a food web shows the relationship between many different food chains in an ecosystem by describing the different food chains within a food web. So remember, yesterday our focus was just food chains. Today our focus is going to be on food chains, but bringing in food webs. So take a moment and think about what this is really saying. Do you remember what an ecosystem is? Do you remember what a food chain is? Go ahead and talk amongst your group, discussing the clear learning objective. Go ahead and talk.
Ecosystem is like a community, but it's really different it's kind of just like a chain, but a food web, food chain is one different food web.
Okay, so now that you've discussed the learning objectives for today, I went ahead and wrote out the CLO on here. You have your question for today. Your question is, how is a food chain different from a food web? How is a food chain different from a food web? Turn and tell your partner what is the question of the day.
The question is how the food chain it's like
So before we get started with the lesson, remember, science, we always have a claims and evidence. Question, claims, and then the evidence. Claim is just like the hypothesis. So think about it. How do you know that? What is your claim to the question? Remember, I claim that a food chain is different from a food web. And then you fill it in. Because, so think about it. Turn and talk to your partner. What is your claim?
I claim that our
The food web is like when there's like it starts off with the sun and then goes out to the plant. It starts off like two different ways. Like, there's two plants and then like there's two like herbivores and there's carnivores. So food web is like big old spider web. It's like all over the place. Like it goes from plant and then it goes from grass because there's two grass and there's a flower.
Now that you know your claim, go ahead and write it on your paper. What is your claim? Do not fill out the evidence until the end of the lesson. Take 1 minute to write out your claim on your little paper right here. You have the paper here, go ahead and write it out. And I'm going to have a couple of you share out what is your claim so far. Okay, before we get started, I'm going to number you off. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Ones, please raise your hand. Twos. Threes. Fours. Okay, pencils are down. I'm going to call on 2 people from 2 groups to share out their claim right now. Can your claim change at the end of the lesson? Give me a show of hands. Yes or no? Yes, raise your hand. No, raise your hand. Okay, so let's go with this group right here. Table number 5, number 1, please stand. Number 1, please stand. Eyes on Amaya. Hey, hey, Amaya. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, hey, Amaya, what do you have to say?
I said my thing was a food chain is different from a food web because a food chain is simple and a food web is all around like a spider.
Excellent. Excellent. You have heard the roller coaster cheer? 1, 2, 3. All right, one more sharing out. This table over here, table number 6, number 1, please stand. Number 1. Hey, hey, Felix. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Felix, what do you have to say?
A food chain is like a spider web. It goes like all
Hold
over.
on for a minute, Felix.
I claim that a food web is different from a food chain because a food web is like a spider web and it goes like all over the place. And a food chain is just a simple chain that has the sun plants and the consumers.
Excellent. Let's give him the eye of the tiger. 1, 2, 3.
Felix, you got the eye of the tiger. You are a champion.
Good job. All right, so let's move on to our vocabulary review. Remember, a quick review, vocabulary review. I want you to go ahead and take your CLO and your iPlane, stick it into your journal where we are today, close it up, and kind of sit it to the side. Leaders, number 1s, please take out your dry erase marker and your board. And take out your vocabulary cards and lay them out flat. Only one set, please. Lay them in the middle. Making sure everyone can see them out. All right, number 1s, raise your hand. Put that marker in your hand. Hands up. Remember, rules of the game. You have to wait until I finish calling out the definition. Then you start writing. And it has to be written out. The full name, vocabulary word has to be written out. And then you hold it up. And I have to see it. You get 1 point for each winner. If there's a tie, both of you will get the points. Remember, on Friday, you will cash in your points for prizes. Here we go. You ready? An animal that gets energy by eating only plants. Go. Right here. Herbivore. Good. Pass it. So when I point to you, I need you to shout it out. Ready? An animal, hold it up. An animal that gets energy by eating only other plants. It was right here. They had it first. Yes. 1 point. What was the word?
Herbivore.
What was the word?
Herbivore.
Good. Next person, we have a couple ready already. Hold it up, hold it up. An organism that gets energy by eating dead organisms, non-living materials, or waste. Right here. Victor, what's the word?
Decompose.
Good. Make sure you're keeping track of your points. Christian, ready? A living thing.
Whoa.
You gotta see it. Right here, organism. Very good. Pass it on. Monacy's ready. An organism that uses sunlight to make its own food for energy. Right here, producer. And I have right here a tie. This group and this group. Pass it along. 3 groups ready, 4 groups, 5, 6. Here we go. A community of living and non-living things in their natural environment. Right here. And it was slightly, but they just slightly got it up. What is the word over here? Ecosystem. Last one. Ready? All teams ready? I see 3 hands in the air. 6. An inherited trait or learned behavior that helps an organism survive in its surroundings. Felix. What is it, Felix? Say it again. Adaptation. Did y'all get it over here?
Yes.
You did? All right. Leaders, go ahead and clean up. Make sure your points stay on your board. And the card that I want you to take out is the card that tells me after we turn and talk that you're ready to share out. Please take out that card, the blue card. And have it laying flat. So when we get ready to share out with our questions, you're letting me know you are ready. So lay it flat for now. So what I'm passing out now is your next activity. On the one side it has activity directions, and the other side it has a chart. One side talks about the living thing, and then the next side talks about what the living thing eats. So as I'm passing them around, take a moment to share with your partner. I'm putting 2 per table to look at it.
What other living things could you add to your food chain when you food web? The living things are clover, grasshopper, frog, snake, owl, and mouse.
The living thing is what it eats. Is clover uses the sun to make its own food, and the grasshopper eats clover, the frog eats grasshopper, and the snake eats frog and mouse. The owl eats snake and mouse, and the mouse eats clover.
Living things, clover, grass.
So remember, we're talking about food webs today. And we're going to be comparing both the food web and the food chain. So go ahead and turn it over to the activity directions, please. And we're going to read over those. So So just to make sure, as you're reading over these, as a group, the leader is going to take control of that group, making sure everyone is doing what they're supposed to. But the leader is not doing all the work. Everyone puts in time with their group. So you're going to follow the directions of the group. I'm going to continue passing out the materials, and I'm going to watch and facilitate what you're doing. So you're reading the directions of the activity, and you're going to go ahead and do, and I'm going to walk around, and after a few minutes, I'm only giving you about 10 minutes for this, 10 minutes. You're going to share out with the questions. Are you ready?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am? All right, here we go. So go ahead and start as I follow directions. Look at the first one.
Okay, it says, so the first one says, write the name of each little thing the chart on its own card. Use the card onto the paper so they form a circle. Refer to the chart and list 2 different food chains that can be made. Draw arrows between the parts of each food chain on their paper. Use a different color for each food chain. Please observe and monitor to see how the food chain overlap. And think about read it.
What other living things can you add to your food?
It says to write the name of each living thing from the chart. I think from this chart right here on its own card.
Okay. So what do you need to do with those cards?
We need to pass it out.
So what could help if you have it here and have the directions over here so everyone can kind of see what's going on. So how many cards do you need?
6.
Very good.
Write all of these. See all of these? Write them on the visual on a card. Yeah. And like we have to we don't have to put them in order, but I'm gonna put them in order how we so we could just
Push it in the chair and come on. Number 3, yes. I think we have enough. Try 1. This is a big one, so get 1. Let's see. Here and here. Get 2 scissors.
First one should be clover.
got
Second one should be grasshopper. Third one should be frog.
Alright, so
Fourth should be snake.
now you
Fifth
should have
should be
moved on to the
owl.
second
And
step.
sixth should be mouse. Alright. Second step. Glue the cards onto the paper so they form a circle. So what we're doing is we're gonna glue them into a circle. One order. That's why we number them so we can.
Reminder. Just a reminder, remember what always starts off the food chain. Think about it. It's not on your cards, but I need to see it somewhere drawn on your paper. Turn and talk. What starts the food chain? How do you know that?
Without these are dead, then the herbivores can eat the plants, and the herbivores dead. The carnivore can eat the herbivore, and the omnivore can eat the carnivore.
Bacteria will grow.
I want one person to share out. Let's go with this group. I'm not looking. Number 3. Who's number 3? Zero? You can do it. Come on. So the question is, what always starts off the food chain, food web? So as Arturo is standing, eyes are on Arturo because he has the floor. Ready? You can do it. Tell him you can do it.
You can do it.
Hey, hey, Arturo. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Arturo, what do you have to say?
So what always starts the food chain? The sun. How do you know? But what happens if we don't have that sun? Will the plants make it without the sun? So the sun is very important, isn't it? So without the sun, what happens to the plants? Yeah. There you go. Very good. Give him the eye of the tiger. He did a good job. 1, 2, 3.
Arturo, you got the eye of the tiger. You are a champion.
Arturo. You're good. All right, keep going. You should be bluing, bluing, bluing. Bluing, bluing, bluing.
Oh, remember a food web is crazy like that.
Okay, so that means arrows in here. So the sun has to go to clover first.
Make sure you're in that right direction.
It has to go down. Sun, clover, grasshopper. Y'all know how y'all have the sun, clover, grasshopper, right? When we make the web, you can do it the other way because the mouse also eats the clover. So it can be sun, clover. Yeah. So to the sun. Grasshopper, go to the mouse.
So where are you starting? Right here. Let's make sure so you have, describe it. What are you starting off with? And then where to go? So what does the sun do for the clover?
It makes it grow to a plant.
And it provides, which is the sunlight. And then from the clover, where does it go?
To the grasshopper and clover.
Hold on just a minute.
Eats the clover. Snake, frog, and mouse. Frog eats the grasshopper. And then mouse eats the frog. And then snake eats the mouse.
It says right here the clover uses the sun to make its own food. The grasshopper eats the clover. The frog eats the grasshopper. The snake eats the frog and the mouse. The owls eat the snake and the mouse. And the mouse eats the clover.
The clover's energy goes to the grasshopper. And the grasshopper's energy goes to
So these are living things, and these are living things that the animals eat. Creatures.
So make sure you have. So by now you should be on the last bullet. Use a different color for each food chain. So what you're going to do, you have all the different living things. So you're going to have to draw more than one set of arrows. So pick one color and draw the food web, and then pick a different color and draw it from something else. Because remember, on here it has that the snake can either eat the frog or the mouse. That's already setting you up for 2. Go ahead, begin.
And then it'll go to the grasshopper, to the frog, to the snake, to the owl.
You gotta do that in one color. And you have to do the next one. You can't do it the same way. Then I have to go sun, clover, owl. Wait, no. Mouse instead. Mouse. And then you have to do the grasshopper.
So starting from the sun, pick one color.
Then the frog. And then the snake. And then the owl. But you have to do the
From the
arrows.
sun, draw another arrow and pick a different color.
So basically, okay, this one's talking about. The clover, the sun starts it off because the sun makes it start. So the sun will have to go to the clover, to the grasshopper, to the frog, out, snake, out, mouse. Yeah. Then you have to switch the grasshopper and the mouse because the mouse both of them eat. Yes.
So one chain, one food chain to go through. And start with that one first. And pick a color. So everybody get a color out. Did you finish drawing yours? You have your first one drawn out. You have your first one drawn out. You have yours. So pick one color. And you're confused in there. And then you're going to pick the second color, draw it out in pencil, and then that'll be a little bit easier. There you go. Pick out one color and go ahead and trace that first option first. Trace it first in one color. So you're going to start off with green? Okay, so when you start from the sun and you have this activity, you have this. So when you start from the sun, you're going to the clover. And then from the clover, you're going to the grasshopper. So where's your arrow from there? There you go. And then from there, where are you going?
Grasshopper goes to the mouth.
So let's see, the grasshopper right here goes to where first?
Oh, the frog.
The frog. Where's your frog at? So you're gonna have to draw a line over there. And then from the clover, where are you going?
Frog doesn't eat the mouse.
Why are you going to the grasshopper? The first one. Where do you go from the sun?
To the clover.
Draw your arrow. Can you tell me why you're going to the clover?
Because it's a plant and it's supposed to heat up.
And the plants get their food from the
Sun.
Very good. So now after that, from the clover, where are you going? Because who's going to eat the clover? Oops, sorry.
And the grasshopper.
All right, so you're going to have to bring your arrow down. There you go. Some of the things are still going to go in the same direction, but you're going to veer off when it has those two choices. You see where it has those two choices here? Somewhere here, you're going to pick the other choice. Talk to your partner, talk to your leader, because I think your leader has it. Yes, you do.
Okay, you have to start from the sun because the sun gives the plant, the clover, the food so they can make. So you have to start from the sun to the clover, and then to the frog because that's frog because the frog eats the grasshopper. That's your first string, you have that. Okay, then you go back to the clover, but instead of the grasshopper, you have to go with the mouse because we have to have different. Both the mouse and the grasshopper both eat the clover, so it can go either way.
Use a different color for each food chain.
Everyone has their lines going around, their arrows going around. So I want you to take a moment, just take about 1 to 2 minutes, sharing out with your group really quick. And leaders, you can take that role on, or you can assign someone to start sharing first. Just sharing out, preparing yourself, what are you going to say to the class if I call on you? Describing your two different food chains. So you can use yours, hold it up, talk about it, discuss it. Take a minute, 1 to 2 minutes, go. 1 to 2 minutes to start discussing. You gotta show that.
So the sun is giving energy to the clover so the clover can grow. And when the clover grows, the grasshopper eats the clover. And when the grasshoppers finish eating the clover, the frog eats the grasshopper, which gives energy from the clover. Then the snake eats the frog, then the owl eats the snake, and then the mouse, and then the owl eats the mouse, and then it goes back around.
So let me take a look back at yours. So that's your first food chain. Where's your second?
I will put.
So look at this. See if you can figure it out while we're discussing. What can you change?
I could put the snake to.
So where you have the snake at right now? So the snake is eating the
Frog and the.
So if the snake is eating the frog on that food chain, on the second food chain, what could the snake eat?
The mouse.
There you go. There should be your other arrow for your next food chain.
Mouse. I went from the frog to the snake because the snake eats the frog, and I went from the snake to the owl because the owl eats the snake.
Yeah, exactly. Go, Martin. Alright. I went from the sun to the clover because the sun gives the sunlight to the clover so it can produce its food. And I went from the clover to the grasshopper because the grasshopper eats the clover. And then I went from the grasshopper to the frog because the frog eats the grasshopper. And then I went from the clover to the mouse because the mouse eats the clover too. And I went from the snake to the mouse to the snake because the snake eats the mouse. And then the snake to the owl because the owl eats the snake.
The sun goes to the clover because the clover gets energy from the sun to make food. Then I went to the clover to the grasshopper because the grasshopper eats the clover. Then I went to the frog because the frog eats the grasshopper. Then I went to the clover to the mouse because the mouse eats the clover too. And then I went to the snake to the mouse because the snake eats the mouse. And then the owl to the snake because the owl eats the snake.
Very good. Seconds to kind of straighten up your area. 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 9, 10. So what you now have on at your table is another example of a food web. Look at the difference. It's the food web. I want you to take a moment. You're going to look at it. And while you're looking at it and discussing it, we're going to share out with these questions. Remember, this is the question and answer time. Eyes up here, please. I'm going to go through, read the questions, and then I have the questions on a little card, so as you're with your group, you can still kind of look at the questions just to make sure as you're discussing. So number 1, when you look at this, you're going to be looking for the answer to these questions. Number 1, what are examples of producers you see in the food web? So you have to know what a producer does. Vocabulary throughout the room in your little packet. Number 2, what are examples of consumers found in the web? 3, are there decomposers found in this web? 4, identify 3 different food chains found within this food web. 5, looking at this picture, from where does all the energy originate? 6, how is the energy used by producers to create their food transferred through the food web? 7, how does a food web differ from a food chain? And 8, why are food chains not the best representation of an ecosystem? So those are the questions that we're going to share out about. So I'm going to give you just about 30 seconds to a minute to discuss the questions and be prepared to share out. So I'm passing them out. First question, I want you to think about what are examples or producers you see in the food web that you have here. So you're going to have to give me some examples of the animal names that are producers in this web. Go ahead and talk amongst your group.
Producer in the web, the producer is, one of the producers are flour. The other producer is grass.
Grass provides for the grasshopper because the grass makes its own food. And the grains make its own food, and so does the flour because of the sun.
Yeah, and the flour is a producer because the sun, and because the flour makes its own food.
Yeah, so the only reason these, the grain, the grass, and the flour are produced is because the sun provides it to make its own food to give to the genes.
When you share out, be prepared to tell me what a producer is before you give me examples of producers from the food web. 5 seconds. Discuss what is a producer.
A producer is something that makes it like. Producer is something that makes
Its own food. No.
its own energy.
4. Table number 4, number 1, please then. Number 1. Question was, what are examples of producers you see in the web? Before you speak, I want to know what is the definition, and then give me examples. Hey, Rayshawn, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Rayshawn, what do you have to say?
The definition of producer is a plant that uses light to make its own food or energy.
Good. Is it just a plant, or can it be
It could be like flowers or a tree.
good, an organism? Very good. Give me some examples from the food web.
Grain,
Good.
mushroom, flowers, and grass.
Very good. Give her the fabulous cheer. 1, 2, 3.
Fabulous.
Good job. All right, second question. Number 2. Look at numbers. Go ahead.
Producer is like a living thing or an animal,
Alright, so the definition to a consumer is something that's going to eat like something else. Like say like the hawk's going to eat the rattlesnake. So consumers are herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. So mostly the kangaroo, rabbit, grasshopper, butterfly, dragonfly, fly, toad, coyote, deers, hawks, rattlesnakes, and sparrows are all consumers.
So coyote?
Because they are all involved with eating something else. They're getting energy from something else.
Is there a butterfly? Yep.
So does everybody get what a consumer is?
Table number 2. Number 4, please then. Kristen, the one with the smile. Hey, Kristen. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Christian, what do you have to say?
So Jewish Christian. Remember, number 2, what are examples of consumers found in the web? Definition and examples, go.
The definition of a consumer is an animal that gets energy only by eating other animals. And examples could be the deer, coyote, toad, dragonfly, the fly, and butterfly. And toad, the grasshopper, the rabbit, rattlesnake, the hawk, sparrow, and kangaroo rat.
Good. Give him the eye of the tiger. 1, 2, 3.
Christian, you got the eye of a tiger. You are a champion.
Very good. Next question, question number 3. Are there decomposers found in this food web? Do you see any decomposers? Definition of what is a decomposer? And an example, go.
What are the decomposers found in this food bed?
A decomposer is an organism that eats dead or non-living.
Say it's a mushroom. It's a mushroom or grass. And grains. Actually, mostly all plants or mushrooms.
Because it's an organism that eats dead
Dead or non-living.
And mushrooms are not. I think mushrooms are non-living things, so it cannot move.
It's living.
It's living. It feeds off of it.
It eats.
So
It's sort of a plant.
so there are mushrooms.
I know you could grow mushrooms. There's some mushrooms that you could eat. Some that you couldn't.
Dead plants, dead
So
soil
you're
that's
poisonous
like
or not.
some mushrooms.
Table number 1. Table number 1. Number 1, please stand. Jasmine, number 3, are there decomposers found in this food web? Vocabulary word, definition, and examples. Hey, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Jasmine, what do you have to say?
The definition of a decomposer is a living thing that eats dead waste or material to get its energy. And an example of a decomposer on the web is a mushroom as it eats dead.
Good, very good. Is she right? Give me a thumbs up. Very good. Let's give her the roller coaster. 1, 2, 3. Good job. All right, this group wanted to clarify something. They heard, and I think I might have missed it. What did you just say? When we look at mushrooms, are they producers?
Yes.
Wait.
Both. Yes. Both.
Tell them what you discussed. Go. Stand up. Go ahead.
It said a mushroom is a decomposer because it's not a producer because it doesn't make its energy from the sun. It doesn't get energy from the sun to make its food and stuff. It actually breaks down things.
Yeah. It breaks down. It's not relying on the sun. So therefore, it is not a
Producer.
Do y'all understand that part? Very good. So therefore it is a decomposer. It is a
Decomposer.
turn and talk again. What is the definition of a decomposer? Go.
A decomposer is an organism that eats dead organisms or waste.
A decomposer is that you energy by eating.
Number 4. Identify 3 different food chains found within this web. It always starts off with the what?
Sun.
It always starts off with the
Sun.
So identify 3 different food chains found within the web, and I'm going to ask you to name them. So you're going to have to go from one thing to the next. Go.
Okay, the first one I see is the sun to the flowers and go to the butterfly, the dragonfly to the toad, to the coyote. Tertiary, do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. The next one I identified was the dragonfly to the toad and the toad to the coyote.
Yes, here's another one. Okay, so you just have 4.
Real rat gets eaten by the rattlesnake.
I'm going to call on 2 groups. For the sake of time, 2 groups. You can't tell me. I'm looking. Let's go with Arturo, don't try to hide. Table number 3. Let's go with number 1, please stand. Alasia, hey, Alasia, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Elijah, what do you have to say?
Go ahead.
One of the routines in the food web is the flower, and the flower gets eaten by the butterfly. The dragon, it says the dragon, the butterfly eats the dragonfly, gets eaten by the dragonfly. The toad eats the dragonfly. The coyote eats the toad, and then the fly also eats the flower.
Is that the second one? Yeah. Just name one. Good job. All right, give her the fabulous. I think she needs a fabulous here. 1, 2, 3.
Fabulous.
Good job, Alasia. Next group, I need a different one. Let's go with table number 4.
Yes.
Oh no, let's go with table number 4, number 2. Number 2, please stand. Carry on. Hey, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Kiarion, what do you have to say?
Start off with something different.
We can do the grain going to the deer, and the deer going to the.
So what does the deer do with the grain?
Oh wait.
No, she's correct. See, it starts here, and she can go up there. So you go, keep going. You're right.
And then the deer goes to the coyote.
So does the deer eat the grain? Okay, keep going.
And then the coyote goes.
Take your finger if you're losing your place. So take your finger and drag it around.
The grain goes to the deer goes to the coyote.
Okay.
And then
That's it. That's a short one. Very good. All right, that's a short one. Remember, they're not always going to be very long. That is a short one. So let's give her the eye of the tiger. 1, 2, 3.
Kiarion, you got the eye of the tiger. You are a champion.
Very good. So let's go on to the next one, number 5. Looking at this picture, from where does all the energy originate? You need to know what the word originate means. Think about it. Turn and talk. What does the word originate mean?
Originate means like where it comes from at first, not like from the back.
Like the original, like the oldest one, like the sun goes to the grass.
Okay, so all the energy produced starts off from the sun, because without the sun, there will be no plants or anything to grow.
And then it's kind of the species that eats the plant will run out.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, Monty, what do you have to say?
I have to say that all the energy originates from the sun, because if we did not have the sun, the grain, the grass, and the flower would not be able to grow, and it would not be able to produce the animals.
So what would happen to everything? It would eventually
die out.
Eventually, very good. All right, let's give her, you know what, I'm gonna do a different cheer.
Yeah.
The banana cheer. Please stand up. Too crazy. Are you ready? Remember, starting it off. Rayshawn, make sure you lead it off. Everybody. 1, 2, 3.
Peel bananas, peel bananas. Ooh, ah. Eat bananas, eat bananas. Ooh, ah. Go bananas, go bananas. Ooh, ah.
Very good. Create their food transferred through the web. Turn and talk.
Okay.
Because the deer eat the grains and the food. Because deer eat the grains and like if the grains is never there, every animal will probably extinct.
Usually it's food by, I think. Yeah, I guess it's food by energy.
So as the grain go to the deer, the coyote eat it. So
like it produces.
So if the grains is never there, or grass or flowers, the animals will probably stink. And it won't be no food chain or food web.
So pretty much.
On 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Mario, what do you have to say?
The energy used by producers to create their food transfer through the food web is like how if the butterfly eats a plant, then the plant's energy is going from the butterfly and then to the dragonfly, then to the toad, and then to the cow.
That's good, but think about it. Look at the question, what it's asking you. How is the energy used by producers to create their food transferred through the web? So when you look at this picture, it is a food, look at the whole picture. The whole picture is a food web or food chain? Food chain. So within that food web, you see many different what? Food. So within that food web, you see different food what? Different food chains. So when you look at here, it's showing a relationship between many different what?
Different organisms.
Organisms, but many different food chains. So this whole thing is a food web. You got it? So in there are different food chains in there. And you're on the right track. You did a good job, right track. I wanted to be more specific. But you were right, it shows the relationships between the different organisms. So is it just one relationship?
No.
Or many?
Many.
Many, very, don't sit. Let's give him, pick your chair. What chair do you want? Roller coaster. Eyes on Amarion. 1, 2, 3. Good job, Amarion. All right, so let's move on to the next question. How does a food web differ from a food chain? Go. Table number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh my God.
Number 4, please stand. Who's number 4? Jeffrey. Hey, Jeffrey. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Jeffrey, what do you have to say?
So, Jeffrey, how does a food web differ from a food chain? What is the difference?
A food web is different from a food chain because a food web is all over the place, and a food chain is like it's simple and it's not all over the place like a food web.
Okay, so when we look at a food web, it's showing many different what?
It shows arrows.
So those arrows are talking about different food
It talks about different food
chains. So within that food web, we have many different food chains. All right, give him, you want to pick your chair or you want me to give you a chair? All right, he needs the eye of the tiger. Look at him and smile. 1, 2, 3.
Jeffrey, you got the eye of a tiger. You are a champion.
Very good. Last question. Why are food chains not the best representation of an ecosystem? Why are food chains not the best representation of an ecosystem? Think about that. And I also want you to tell me, what is an ecosystem? We talked about that last week. What is an ecosystem? Go.
Okay.
It's a community that is like it's kind of like a community, but it's really not because a community and ecosystem are different. Like I say it's a community because it has the same thing, but it's different. That's what I say. It's like that. It depends on where it lives. It's like an animal's habitat.
It's an ecosystem. An ecosystem is like it's a place where animals and people live. An ecosystem is like a community, and the food chain is like showing the different kinds of animals that eat other animals.
And then also you have the consumers that can do what? They can be several members of the food chain also. So it's not the best representation because there's a lot of stuff going on in there. So give him the eye of the tiger. 1, 2, smile as they give it to you. 1, 2, 3.
Peter, you got the eye of a tiger. You are a champion.
Very good. All right, we're up to our last activity. We have to end. So I'm going to give you, so eyes on me, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to look at this and see if you can fill in the blanks. And I'm going to add the vocabulary, add some words up there and see if you can fill them out. And then we're going to go quickly. As I point, you're just going to read the sentence filled in with the blank. All right? So go ahead and go through it. And I have it also on a little paper for you if you need to write in so you don't forget. And you're going to glue it into your journal.
A blank is a sequence that traces food energy from blank, and I think it's a food chain is the sequence that traces food energy from consumers and producers. What do y'all think?
I agree.
So food chain from producers and consumers. So producers, and so that is vocabulary word. And consumers, so a food chain is a sequence that traces food energy from producers and consumers. And the next one is a food web is a system of, I think
Transfers food energy from producers and consumers of food.
So as you go through it, I'm going to have one team is ready to share out. And as they're sharing out, go ahead and fill in those blanks. As they're sharing out, go ahead and fill in those blanks. Because remember, on Friday, you get to have a test over this. So you need to make sure you understand it on Friday. Yes, I'm happy. I want a test. Don't you? No? No? You don't like tests? No. So maybe I'll give you like 3 or 4. All right. So we're going to look at table number 1. Table number 1 is ready to share. As they're reading out, go ahead and fill in. All right, let's look at who hasn't shared from table number 1. Tara Shay. Hey, Tara Shay, stand up. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Tara Shay, what do you have to say?
So stand up here and read. So listen carefully. Loud and clear.
A food chain is the sequence that traces food energy from producers and consumers.
Stop there. Did everybody get that?
Yes.
That one should have been pretty easy. Go to the next one. Say it again. Read it again.
A food chain is the sequence that traces food energy from producers and consumers.
Number 2.
A food web is a system of overlapping and connecting food chains in an ecosystem.
Okay, did we get that? Who didn't get it? Have a thumbs up over here. Everybody got that? Read it again for him.
A food web is a system of overlapping and connecting food chains in an ecosystem.
So think about it. When you look at that food chain, when you're looking at this food web, what is the key word that you have? 2 key words in there?
Overlapping and connecting.
Are they connecting?
Yes.
Are they overlapping?
Yes.
There you go. Next question.
The flow of energy in a food chain or food web is usually represented by arrows.
Raise your hand if you got that. Did you get it over here? Yeah. Next one.
The arrows point in the direction the energy is being transferred.
Y'all get that one? You got the same thing? Thumbs up? So read it again.
The
Asterisk. Like the little asterisk next to that one, that is the key to understanding the food web and food chain. The asterisk mark, and I always put those. Not a hashtag. Oh, we can use hashtag, very good. Hashtag, very good. So remember the hashtag, anything after the hashtag is important. That is important information you definitely need to know. That is the key to understanding. So our last thing, pull back out your claim and evidence. Pull out your claim and evidence. So you're going to keep, so what you should have, the question to the side, you're going to glue in the key points to remember, and you're going to glue in your CLO, Clear Learning Objective. So make sure you have those out. You should have put your CLO inside of your journal. Please take out your journal. And you can kind of straighten up a little bit. If you need to put all the pink papers together, it's fine. At the pink papers, I will come by and pick them up to give you more room. In the middle, go ahead and put your questions in the middle. And you're filling in that blank. I know this because how do you know that? Remember, your journal should remain open because Ms. Nwosu likes to come by and check. And remember to glue in your CLO at the top, and then gluing your key points underneath that. CLO with the claims and evidence first, and then underneath your key points to remember. Go ahead and glue it in. Next page. You need to draw. Are you ready? Because you're going to do this within 2 minutes. On the next page, you're going to draw a food web and explain the energy flowing through it. A food web, take up the whole entire page. You're going to use pictures and words to describe how energy in food chains and food webs flow through an ecosystem. So go ahead and start drawing that out. Draw it out. Yes, I have to make sure you understand. You do it as a group. Journal. Journal time. Remember, journal time is what you know. Once you've worked with your group all through the activity, all through the lesson, then it's your time to demonstrate what you know. But I will do this. Before you start writing and drawing, put your pencil down. Talk to your group real quick. Discuss. Discuss what you would like to draw.
So I like to draw. I'll draw grass, then I'll draw a grasshopper, then a frog, then a snake, then a hawk. Then I'll draw a flower, so that'll be one food chain. Then I'll draw another flower, and then I'll say that flower will give energy to the, let's say, the caterpillar. Not caterpillar. Butterfly. There you go. Butterfly. And then it'll give energy to the what's it called, spider. It'll get caught by the spider. Then the spider will give energy to the snake. And then it'll go to the owl. The snake will go to the owl. So I want to do one predator.
I'd like to draw.
Can I just write the name?
Don't forget to explain. Remember, complete sentences. If we run out of time, I will allow you time, 5 minutes before tomorrow's lesson to finish your explanation and your writing. And she's going to go ahead and read us her claim. Eyes on Jasmine. And she's going to read us her evidence. Remember, claims and evidence. And then she's going to describe her picture. She gets the biggie. And she's going to, as she's describing the pictures, the words, the labeling, she's going to read also her explanation. Hey, Jasmine. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Jasmine, what do you have to say?
Right up here. Take the floor. Eyes on Jasmine.
My claim was I claim that a food chain is different from a food web because the food web.
A little bit louder. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Because the food chain is made out of one chain and the food web is made out of different chains. I know this because in the experiment it shows that the food chain is one chain and the food web has different chains combined.
Show them your picture. And describe what you wrote in your picture. So I'll hold it up. And kind of just describe to them what you wrote. Or drew.
The food web is made out of many chains. The food web starts out with the sun. The sun gives light to the flower for it to grow. Next, the fly eats the flower, then the fly is eaten by the dragonfly. The dragonfly is eaten by the toad. The toad is eaten by the coyote, and that is the food.
Excellent. Excellent. So this is, if you didn't get to continue, you will continue tomorrow because I need to make sure I read it and make sure everybody understands. So give her the fabulous cheer. Make sure your eyes are on her because she did a fabulous job. Saying it with a smile. 1, 2, 3.
Fabulous.
Very good. All right, now that is the end of the lesson. So quietly, make sure the glue is turned. Make sure everything